Hey there. This is Pastor Jonathan. I want to thank you so much for being willing to lead a small group during our outdoor opening phase. I hope in addition to watching this video that you'll take time to review the corresponding document and the PDF that has the slide deck that has all the information about what the responsibilities and duties of a small group leader in this time look like. Assembling a small group is the first step to being a small group leader. What we're saying right now is that if you want to gather a group of people for a church-related activity, you're welcome to do so. This could be something like a Bible study, one of our class meeting small groups. It could be something for a ministry-related event, something for a community resource kind of event. It could be something socially related, missionally related. Anything that can tie back to the mission and ministry of the church is welcome to be meeting on our church property during the outdoor opening phase. There is a requirement that you as a leader have to complete this training and affirm that you've watched this video and you've looked through the slides and the corresponding document prior to any meeting of a small group. Now, what I want to remind you of is that as you're assembling these groups, they are a maximum of 12 people total in attendance. What that means is in a given small group on a given site, you can only have 12 people, including yourself. Now you may say, gosh, Jonathan, I think my group might have upwards of 20 or 30 people. Well, in that kind of scenario, what you would do is consider registering for multiple sites during the same time. Remember, we have 4 different sites on our church property where we can accommodate small groups at this time. You can register for multiple groups at the same time, but each one of those groups will need somebody who has completed the small group leader training facilitating the small group session on that particular site. The other thing I want to make sure you understand is that each of those small group meetings are limited to 60 minutes in length. This is done in large part because we're trying to limit the possibility of somebody needing to come into the building to use the restroom or for another emergency kind of purpose. The reality is we cannot open the church building under any circumstance at this time for small group, for folks attending small groups outdoors at our church. So it's very important that we really stick to that 60-minute time frame for a small group meeting. You'll be able to register your small group by emailing our church office at herndonumc.org. You're going to see in the slides and in the document a number of different times that are options for you to register. You have to pick times that correspond with those available times. In other words, if you say, gosh, I really wish that I could have a group that would meet at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday mornings, well, unfortunately, that's not an available time right now. Likewise, if you say, gosh, I would really love to have a group meet at 5:30 on Sunday afternoons, and you email the church office and find out all 4 sites are filled, unfortunately, that would not be an available time to you either. Make sure you're registering for the time slot that you would desire. Indicate the approximate number of people that you would anticipate having at that particular time slot and what the circumstances of your meeting are. That helps us to keep track of all that's going on and to be able to facilitate that in the best way possible. So once you've assembled your group and once you've registered your group, it's time for some of the next steps in what will take place as you're preparing. It's very important that every person that's going to participate, every participant in your outdoor small group, must complete something called the Acknowledgement Form. The Acknowledgement Form has 2 sections. The first one is a health acknowledgement form. It's really about people being able to affirm that they haven't been around coronavirus, that they haven't contracted it themselves, and that they're not showing any symptoms. The second part of that form is related to the kind of standards and conduct that are expected of participants during outdoor small group activities at Herndon United Methodist Church. This is a basic list of just a covenant of conduct that folks can be able to expect to engage in during their time at the church. It's very important that you receive an acknowledgement form from every participant before every small group gathering that takes place at Herndon United Methodist Church. It doesn't matter if somebody's filled out a form for this a same event a week earlier, a same group meeting a week earlier, same Bible study a week or a month earlier. A new form must be completed before each separate event. This is important because it allows folks to take time to review the conditions of gathering, to reaffirm or affirm for the first time their health condition, and to be reminded of the standards which we are expecting folks will live up to during their time during an outdoor small group gathering at Herndon United Methodist Church. Now, what happens if one of those standards is broken? If as you're meeting something takes place or there's a problem during gathering, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. In addition to those gathering forms, what you'll want to do is prepare yourself to really be the person who can uphold those standards, to make sure that you and any other small group leaders have completed this training and that you're prayerfully considering how you'll make best use of the time that you're allotted at the church. On the day of your gathering, you want to be prepared to arrive at the church no more than 15 minutes ahead of your scheduled time. You'll notice that the hour blocks that we're giving folks to be able to register for small group gatherings are spaced out by 30 minutes between each gathering. That's done on purpose to make sure that a group can fully exit the church property before another group fully enters in. We're trying to minimize the amount of cross kind of connection that we might have take place. So please help that happen by arriving no more than 15 minutes ahead of your scheduled time. Also, when you register, you'll be assigned to a particular site, and that site has its own unique entry and exit plan as well as a parking plan. We ask that you please abide by that and please share that with all participants that are going to be sharing in your small group gathering at Herndon United Methodist Church. After you arrive and you've made sure that all the acknowledgement forms have been uploaded to Breeze, our church management software, you can invite people to come together. People will be asked to bring their own seating. It's not okay in this time for you to provide any kind of seating, nor is it okay for you to provide any kind of food or drink, any printed materials. You're really just showing up yourself, your seating, and and that's really about it. Maybe a water bottle for yourself. What you want to do is verify that everybody arriving is keeping social distance, that they're wearing masks, that they're abiding by the standards set forth in the acknowledgement form. At the beginning of your meeting or gathering, it's recommended that you choose a timekeeper, somebody who can help you be attentive to the amount of time that you're taking. Remember, you have exactly 1 hour as a maximum time to be able to gather together. Having a timekeeper can appoint somebody to be able to give you a 15-minute warning when your time is starting to wind down, and a 5-minute warning to offer last thoughts or to wrap up conversation at that time. It is so important that you end right at the appointed time. That gives your group time to transition back to their vehicles and to leave the church property, and time for the next group to be able to come into the church property and do so safely. Now, during your gathering, we're hoping that everything's going to go smoothly, that there aren't going to be hiccups, there aren't going to be any kind of issues. I want to remind you of a couple of things, though. You are responsible for the conduct of your small group gathering. If you find at any point that any participant is not living up to the standards that they have signed off to do in the acknowledgement form, it's your responsibility to address that immediately. Now, if something happens and let's say somebody lowers their mask briefly and you notice that happening and you call them for it and they say, "Oh, my bad," and they put it right back, don't worry about it. However, if you find that somebody is not being willing to listen to your instruction of correction, or if you find that there's repeated negligent behavior, it's your responsibility to stop the meeting immediately and to let myself or Pastor Floor know about what's taken place. We'll need to have a pastoral conversation with the person or the participant who has not been able to live up to the conduct to the covenant that they've signed off on, the acknowledgement form, and it's important that we do this because it's all about keeping everybody safe. Now, after your meeting, we want to encourage you, after your gathering, we want to encourage you to clean up your site, gather any trash or anything that may have been developed and dispose of that appropriately, and leave on time in an orderly and safe way. If for some unforeseen reason someone were to contract coronavirus during your meeting, or if somebody were to develop symptoms after the fact and we needed to report that, it is very important that you let myself and Pastor Floor know immediately. In addition to the training document and the slides that are here, we also have a what if document that we're going to be sharing with you. feel free to review that and see some of the standards and protocols that we'll be going through if something were to take place. Again, we don't foresee that happening. We don't hope that that happens, but we do want to make sure that we're prepared just in case. Remember that we, most of all, are so thankful to you for taking the time and the energy and the effort to lead a small group during this time. There is so much that is fuzzy, there is so much that is unknown, but what you are doing is a ministry to the people of Herndon United Methodist Church and our larger community. So thank you so much for all that you do. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, please don't hesitate to send our Healthy Church team an email at hct@herndonumc.org. We'll be able to receive that and you'll get a response as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for participating in this training. God bless you as you lead in our church during this odd and wondrous time.